Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
I told myself turning 65 would be just another day. I clung to that lie while stirring my morning coffee. Black, no sugar, exactly the same as my son Fraser hated. The kitchen felt too big without his voice echoing down the hall. A year and a half of silence, and yet the absence still sat at my table like an unwelcome guest. I was rinsing my mug when I heard the knock. One single deliberate rap, then retreating footsteps crunching across the front path. I hesitated at the door. Nobody ever knocked like that except Fraser. Polite, measured, like he could control the sound of his own presence. When I opened the door, there it was. A black box wrapped in gold satin ribbon, tucked neatly inside a plain paper bag. My name was written across the card. My real name. Beatrice, not Mom. That alone made my stomach tighten. I carried it to the kitchen table, set it down like it might explode. My fingers hovered over the card before I finally read it out loud. Happy birthday, Mom. Let's not fight anymore. These candies are a sign of reconciliation. I almost laughed. Bitter, sharp. Fraser, so quick to wound and so slow to forgive. I untied the ribbon. Inside, the chocolates were exquisite. Each one like a tiny jewel, glossy and perfect. But beneath the sugar, something mean shimmered. My mind flipped back to that last fight. The slammed door, his hissed threat. You'll see. One day you'll wish you'd chosen me. I jumped when the phone rang. It was Lauren, sweet Lauren, Fraser's mother-in-law. But unfortunately, she didn't wait for my reply. I didn't manage to answer her call. I dialed her number without thinking. She answered on the first ring. Beatrice, happy birthday, darling. Lauren, listen, would you like some chocolates? Fraser sent them. They're beautiful. Oh, Beatrice, are you sure? Her warmth was the only thing that settled the chill coiling around my ribs. Yes, come by and take them. He'd want you to have them too. I hung up, convincing myself I was being generous, not afraid. When she arrived, her hug smelled like lavender. Thank you, Bea. They're lovely. Enjoy them, I said, but my voice cracked on the last word. When the door closed behind her, I stood there staring at the few candies left in the box on the table. The phone call came just before dawn, a shrill ring that jolted me upright, heart pounding like a drum. I fumbled in the dark, pressing the phone to my ear. It was Lauren's daughter, her voice thin and breaking. Beatrice, it's Mom. She collapsed. She was vomiting dizzy. They've taken her to County General. The words tumbled through me like stones. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the pale blue light bleeding through the curtains. The chocolates, those beautiful glistening chocolates, they were supposed to be safe. A gesture of peace, or so I'd let myself believe. I didn't even change out of my robe before I called Fraser. He picked up almost too quickly, his voice smooth, casual, so at odds with the storm raging in my chest. Morning, Mom. Early for you, isn't it? Fraser, it's Lauren. She's in the hospital. She ate those chocolates you sent. Silence. So total I thought the call had dropped. Then a slow exhale, like he was counting backward to keep from screaming. You gave them? To Lauren? I didn't think. They were meant for you, Mom, he snapped. The warmth was gone. Only you. Why can't you ever do what you're told? Before I could plead or demand an explanation, the line went dead. My hands trembled so badly I nearly dropped the phone. I don't remember putting on my coat, only the way the icy morning air bit at my cheeks as I drove through still sleeping streets. Fraser's house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac, prim and neat like a lie told too many times. I found the spare key under the cracked planter by the porch steps, exactly where he used to hide it as a boy. Inside, the kitchen was immaculate, the scent of antiseptic soap clinging to everything. I didn't have to look hard. The trash bin near the island held its ugly secret. A small glass bottle, no label, a ring of white powder hugging the inside. My breath caught. I could almost see him standing there, shaking the poison out like sugar into a cup of tea. I slipped the bottle into my pocket, wiped my prints from the doorknob, and stepped back into the cold. The box of chocolates had been a gift, but the real present was truth, and now it was clawing at my throat. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat at the kitchen table, staring at the few chocolate candies I'd kept for myself. It sat there in its glossy paper cup, so harmless looking it made my chest tighten. Fraser's card lay beside it, every word now a threat in disguise. These candies are a sign of reconciliation. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I called Nora Baxter, an old friend from my nursing days. She'd moved on to a private lab in the city. I could hear the disbelief in her voice when I explained. "B, you really think Fraser?" "I don't know what to think, Nora. But I need to know. For Lauren. For me." A pause, then a soft sigh. "Bring it in." Discreetly. I drove the 20 miles to the lab with my fingers clenched around the steering wheel. The bottle and chocolate sealed tight in a sandwich bag on the seat beside me. Every stoplight felt like an accusation. "You raised him. You should have known." Nora met me at the back door, lab coat over her jeans, her hair scraped into a bun. She didn't ask questions, just slipped on gloves and took the evidence from my hands. "I'll run a full talk screen. I'll call you as soon as I have anything." As she turned to go, I caught her wrist. "Nora, if you find something, promise me you'll tell me first." She looked me dead in the eye. Always. Back home, the house felt like a stranger. I kept replaying Fraser's voice. "Only you. Why can't you ever do what you're told?" He'd always been so meticulous. The neat handwriting, the color-coded closet, the way he'd sulk for days if someone used his favorite mug. Now that same precision was a weapon. When Nora called that evening, I answered on the first ring. "It's aconitum, Beatrice. Monk's hood. Highly toxic, and not something you find by accident." "I'm so sorry." My knees buckled. I sank to the kitchen floor, the cold tile leaching the warmth from my skin. I could almost taste the sweetness of that chocolate. How close I'd come to swallowing my son's hate in a single bite. Detective Spencer Doyle sat across from me at my kitchen table, his notebook angled just so, like he didn't want to miss a single twitch of my hands. I'd made tea, but neither of us drank it. Steam rose between us, gusting up into the dim kitchen light. "You're sure you want to do this, Beatrice?" he asked, voice gentle but firm. I pressed my palms flat to the table to stop the trembling. "He tried to kill me, Detective. He poisoned those chocolates. And Lauren." My throat closed around her name. She was still in the hospital, drifting in and out like a leaf in the wind. Spencer leaned back. "We need him to say it himself. Once. On record. You think he'll call again?" I shook my head. "No, he's too careful." He arched an eyebrow. "Then we do it your way." I stared at my phone all night, the chocolate locked away in the fridge like a secret I could barely stand to look at. By dawn, I knew what I had to do. Fraser would never confess over the phone. He'd want control. He always did. So I would go to him. I drove to his house while the sun still lingered low behind the trees. His door opened before I even knocked. He stood there in a crisp shirt and slacks, hair combed back just so. But his eyes, those eyes were feral in the morning light. "Mom," he drawled, stepping aside. "Didn't expect you." "I thought we should talk," I said, my voice calm, my coat pocket heavy with the small recorder Spencer had given me. Inside, the house was spotless, every edge sharp enough to draw blood. We sat at his kitchen island, the same place I'd found the bottle. I could almost feel the ghost of it under my fingertips. "I know what you did, Fraser," I said. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Did what?" "The chocolates. Monk's hood. Lauren's in the hospital because of you." He tilted his head, feigning surprise. "You shouldn't snoop, Mom. Makes you look paranoid." I pressed the recorder under my coat sleeve. "Tell me why. Please. Just tell me." His fingers drummed the marble counter. "Because you never put me first. It was always Dad, your charities, your perfect reputation. I thought maybe if you tasted a little fear." He laughed, sudden and sharp. "Guess you still can't follow instructions." I forced my voice steady. "Did you poison the chocolate candies? How did you do it? And why?" He shrugged. "A syringe makes it easy. Mom, it was time for you to leave this mortal world. I don't need you anymore." The moment the words left his mouth, I stood. I could hear my own heartbeat roaring in my ears. Not fear this time, but something cold and final. "Goodbye, Fraser," I said. His smirk faltered for just a heartbeat. I walked out with the recorder warm against my ribs. And for the first time in years, I felt like I was finally holding the sharpest blade in this house. Detective Doyle didn't even need to press play when I handed him the recorder. He could see it all in my eyes. He nodded once, grim but satisfied. That's enough. He gave you everything we need. I watched him tuck the device into an evidence bag, the tiny metal box now heavier than anything I'd ever carried. A confession caught like a bird in my hands, and I'd squeezed just hard enough not to let it fly away. The next few hours passed in a blur. Paperwork. Questions. More questions. I answered each one, my voice steady even when my heart wanted to crawl out of my chest. When they finally drove Fraser away in the back of that black and white cruiser, I didn't look away. He caught my eye through the window, his expression unreadable, that cold brilliance flickering like a dying light bulb. Later that night, I sat at my kitchen table with the single chocolate in front of me, the last piece of his gift, the one I'd nearly swallowed without a second thought. I could still hear his voice. They were meant only for you, Mom. I held it in my palm, its shell perfect and glossy. A poison jewel. How simple it had all been for him. Hate wrapped in ribbon, betrayal sealed in sweetness. The phone rang. It was Lauren's daughter again. Beatrice. Mom's awake. She's asking for you. My eyes blurred so fast I nearly dropped the chocolate. I'll come first thing tomorrow, I whispered. Tell her I'm sorry. After the call, I fetched the little fireproof box from the hall closet, the one I'd used for old birth certificates and love letters that never aged well. I laid the chocolate inside, next to Fraser's birthday card. Happy birthday, Mom. Let's not fight anymore. I read those words one last time before locking the lid. Some gifts are too heavy to throw away. They deserve to be kept, if only to remind you how close you came to forgetting who you were. I stood by the window, watching the dawn creep over the garden Fraser once played in. I rested my hand on the cold glass, feeling the warmth of the sun trying to find me.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.